what is the event? You know, is there a pivotal moment that when I think of Columbia or South Carolina that I think of Joe? And I'm sure you're hearing this a lot, but the Christmas parade, the Christmas parade. I came as a young pup and I was a sideline reporter at the parade, and we'd be on Gervais Street and the crowd would start really getting very excited as the parade went on, and they'd be looking, you know, jockeying for position, looking for the guy with the rosy cheeks and the twinkling eyes. And I'm not talking about Santa Claus, I'm talking about Joe Pinner, because I'm old enough that I remember he was in the Christmas parade. A lot of times in these more recent years, he was a commentator and brought the parade to life. But he was such a huge personality across the state of South Carolina that he was in the parade and people just loved seeing him. They loved to be around him. One of the things that I think makes Joe, Joe, and especially coming through WIS, as a young person, I had one job prior to coming to WIS. So you come in as this insecure kid, and you get on television, and some days you wanted to slink out the door because you just felt like when you failed, you were in public failing when you're on television. And the first person that was there to pump you up was Joe Pinner. He remembered what it was like to start, and he would build us up. And that is the WIS I remember. The reason we get emotional, for someone who lived such a wonderful, colorful life, a long life in many standards in the 80s. But the reason we get emotional is because our group, we were family. The folks that I came up with through WIS, family. And Joe was the head. For me, he was Papa Joe. For some of these young people, he's probably Grandpapa Joe, you know? I just want to thank the Pinner family for sharing Joe with us, because what a lot of times folks don't know in the public is that when you have a personality that's as large as Joe and you're on television and folks loved him, that when Joe was out with family and he maybe wanted a private moment, there weren't any private moments. And the thing that made people love Joe even more is that he would take the time. If he was out going out to dinner with his beloved Peggy or his family, and folks came up to him, and they always did, he would take the time to talk to them and to listen, to hear their stories, really listen. And he'd share some stories. And someone may come up with a feeling that they liked Joe, but after those moments, they loved Joe. And so the Pinner family has shared him with all of us for decades. And I remember talking to Peggy sometimes, you know, and she would chuckle about it, that, well, that's Joe. And she didn't want to curb that part of his personality. So thank you to the Pinners for sharing him with us, the WIS family, and I know the public feels the same way. Thank you for sharing such a larger-than-life human being with us.